Welcome, everyone, to the 161st Street Show. My name is Joseph Esposito, and I am your host. Today, we will be discussing the recent updates regarding Cody Bellinger, and we'll be looking at what some of the Plan B options for the Yankees can look like moving forward. So, to get the update, yesterday about Bellinger came from Buster Only of ESPN, in which he said the Yankees were hoping to re-sign the veteran outfielder who played well for them last season, but are now operating under the assumption that Bellinger is going to sign elsewhere. The team is now seeking additions elsewhere. He added later in the article that New York had remained engaged in conversations for outfielder Kyle Tucker and infielder Bo Bichette, and as they've haggled in the Bellinger negotiations, they've also engaged other teams about trade possibilities. Now, it's no secret the Yankees and Scott Boras are not particularly fond of each other. There was rumors that the Yankees were extremely upset about the Juan Soto negotiations that happened last year, and it really left a bad taste in their mouth. Now, first off, let me start off by saying, as frustrating as this is to be a Yankee fan right now, Scott Boras and Cody Bellinger have every right to do this. The Yankees are most likely the ones who leaked this update, just as they're the ones who leaked that they made two separate offers to Boras and Bellinger. This could be posturing on their part to simply try to get Bellinger to bring down his demands, or they are legitimately pivoting and trying to figure out what their plan B is. So now let's start delving into some of the plan B options for the Yankees, obviously starting with Kyle Tucker. Now, it's crazy to say that the player that is clearly better than Cody Bellinger is the backup option to him, but it's kind of been that kind of offseason for the Yankees. So let's take a little bit of a look on what Kyle Tucker accomplished in the 2025 season. So he played 136 games, batted 266, 377 OBP, 464 slug, good for a 136 WRC plus, and a 4.5 WAR. Now, Kyle Tucker did deal with some ailments. I believe he had a broken hand this past season, and he's kind of been an on again, off again injured player. Hasn't been anything too crazy. It's really more derailed him in the 2024 season, where he only ended up playing in 78 games. But Kyle Tucker, in terms of a hitter, is about as good as you get in baseball right now. He's been over a 120 WRC plus since 2019, so that's his rookie season. Ever since 2021, he's been a 130 or over. So we're talking about top 10, top 15 hitter in all of Major League Baseball. And man, this is someone that you slot right behind Aaron Judge, right before Aaron Judge, and put him in Yankee Stadium. And wow, like he's been someone that I've wanted since the offseason started. He was in my offseason blueprint, obviously. This market's been a little weird. Everyone projected him to get anywhere from 350 million to a little over 400 even to start the offseason on, 8-year, 9-year, 10-year, 11-year type of deal. Now we're talking about him as a high AAV, low year player. Super interesting. I remember Joel Sherman a little bit earlier in the offseason when discussing Tucker in relation to the Yankees. He did mention some concerns about pretty much Kyle Tucker's passion for the game of baseball, which is very, very weird because it's almost funny when you think about it because, we're talking about a guy that, has a 130 WRC plus or more the last 5 seasons. And you're going to sit there and tell me that he doesn't care. Man, I'm all good with Kyle Tucker. Give me him now. I would have no problem taking him on the Yankees. I think he would be a seamless fit. Obviously, be the left fielder for the Yankees, which is a position that he hasn't played since 2020 back with the Astros. And we all know the Houston left field is a very easy one to play. Any outfield in a stadium where Giancarlo Stanton can be comfortably put out there, definitely a little bit easier to play. But Kyle Tucker's been pretty exceptional fielder for his whole career. He had to play Wrigley Field, right field this past season, which is an enormous, enormous right field. So definitely don't have too many concerns about him being a left fielder in Yankee Stadium. I think you shouldn't set your bar too high thinking he's going to be a Gold Glover or anything out there. But I think he could definitely provide, average defense out there for sure. Definitely would obviously love Kyle Tucker on the Yankees. Can't overstate it. I think he takes his line to a whole new level. Swapping him out for Bellinger, I think, would be more than make so much sense for the Yankees. Unfortunately, do I think they're going to do it? Not really. If we're talking about a high AV, low year deal that he ends up getting, I think the Dodgers are better suited for that. I think the Mets are better for that. Obviously, the Blue Jays have been linked to him a lot. I think if we're talking about the Yankees being willing to give him a bunch of years, I think we're talking about five, I think at least 6, 7, 8. Maybe that'll give them a leg up in negotiations if they're not, giving that high AAV that he might desire. But nevertheless, I don't really see it happening. But I guess you never know. I would love it. Obviously, if Jack Curry says something about it in a positive light, I'll be kind of more interested. Right now, with it only being Buster only, being the only one to say it as of late, I'm not really gonna get too crazy about it. So now we'll delve into kind of the second option, and that is Bo Bichette. Obviously, he was a shortstop for the Toronto Blue Jays this past season. Uh, to be honest, I don't see the fit. I don't see the fit. Like I get righty hitter, could move him to second base or third base even. Obviously, would help the Yankees lineup enormously. I'm not discounting that. But the Yankees spent the whole 2025 offseason and shoring up the defense and, getting guys in here like Bellinger to make sure that, we don't have the lapses that we did defensively in the 2024 season that, inevitably cost us, multiple games and obviously World Series game 5. Never forget that. Unfortunately, that's ingrained in my brain. But, I just don't see the fit. Now, could the Yankees like Bo Bichette more long term than Jazz Chisholm? Possibly move him to second, possibly trade Jazz away for maybe an arm. Possible. Again, I don't see it. It would be a complete 180 in terms of philosophy that they were kind of shooting for last offseason. So, it'd be an interesting twist. Also, I don't like that Bo Bichette's, athleticism is steeply declining. His sprint speed has gone dramatically down each of the last couple seasons, and it kind of cratered this season. So obviously, I'm just not really liking the fit, especially that John Heyman said that he's looking for 300 million. Do I think he's going to get 300 million? No. But I mean, I guess you never know with deferrals and all this stuff that people are using to kind of manipulate the contracts. That never know. I don't see him getting 300. I was going to be pleasantly surprised if he got over 200 to begin the offseason, but I guess we'll see where that goes. Don't really see the Yankees getting involved with Bo, but I guess, time will tell. Another option I wanted to discuss, this was kind of not directly correlated to Cody Bellinger, but I wanted to discuss that now that there's potential for this to happen. So Nico Horner of the Chicago Cubs. Now, before last night, that's kind of a fan-driven narrative that, oh, the Yankees should go out and get Nico Horner. There's really nothing pointing to, other than a few rumors out there that they could look to trade him. Didn't really make much sense at the time. But now the Chicago Cubs ended up signing Alex Bregman to a 5-year deal last night. So now Nico Horner becomes more expendable. Jeff Passan even mentioned the possibility of them possibly looking to trade Nico Horner. And again, they don't have to do it. I mean, you don't sign Alex Bregman, trade for Ever Cabrera if you're not going for it. Nico Horner being on the Chicago Cubs helps them in that goal. So I think they would have to be, blown away to kind of move Nico. And obviously they're not going to move Matt Shaw, but I really just don't see them moving Nico. Now, would I love him on the Yankees? Absolutely. He fits in like a glove as opposed to Bo Bichette. Nico Horner could move right over to shortstop, permanently unseat Volpe, which I know he's probably the most polarizing player I've watched since Gary Sanchez. It hasn't been good. He just hasn't lived up to expectations. Obviously, I think he's been coming into 2025, I think he was a little bit underrated. He had elite defense at shortstop. He was a below average hitter. There I It's just so surprising to me with Volpe, man. I mean, his profile, the way he hit in the minors, I don't know. I don't know if it was they didn't give him enough time, they rushed him when they brought him up in 2023. It's hard to say. It's really, really unfortunate though. I do hope, I guess you never know. You never know if he'll be able to turn around, but obviously from offensively, it's not looking too good. But Nico Horner would be a fan favorite. He's kind of that funny middle ground where analytics people like him and the old time baseball fan also likes him. He's the guy that hits for over 300, not a lot of power. He did hit 40 extra base hits this past season, so not terrible from that department, but above average from a WRC plus standpoint. Had almost a 5 WAR season. You know, he would just fit this team and just help them in so many ways. Brian Cashman specifically mentioned throughout multiple points in this offseason that he was looking to kind of cut down on the strikeouts in the bottom third of the lineup. So obviously right now the bottom third of the lineup is projecting to be Wells, Volpe, McMahon. Obviously McMahon been a big strikeout guy for most of his career. Volpe obviously has been a big problem for him ever since he came up. Wells, I feel like he's very up and down in regards to his whiffs. Last year was a lot worse than 2024. I think he could definitely improve in that a lot. And I wouldn't be surprised if he did. But definitely, obviously, like I said, flipping out Horner for Volpe, you're talking about a guy that strikes out less than 7% of the time. So obviously, Nico Horner would be a great fit for the Yankees. And I also just did want to touch on that in the excerpt in the part of the article, Buster only did say obviously the Yankees have been engaged about with other teams about trade possibilities. I would assume that would be pertaining to starting pitching because obviously the Yankees have been linked to starting pitching, especially as of late. Obviously they were in on Eric Cabrera. There was a period of time where that looked like that might happen. Obviously it didn't come to fruition. He ended up getting moved to the Cubs. The Yankees are still getting linked to Freddie Peralta, Mackenzie Gore. So, I mean, it's funny, as much as I just talked about the bats, the Yankees need an arm, man. Especially in the starting rotation, they need an arm. You cannot go into this season with Ryan Yarbrough as your 5. Obviously, Ryan Yarbrough as your 5, not the end of the world. If you're relying on just maybe one guy to come back from injury, it's not the end of the world. You don't love it, but he'll get you to that point and you're not going to lose too much sleep about it. But you're essentially relying on all of your starting options. So it's Max Fried, that's Cam Schlittler, that's Will Warren, Luis Heel, and Ryan Yarbrough as of right now to get through spring training healthy. Now, 3 of those guys, Schlittler, Fried, and Warren, all posted career highs in innings this past year. Heel had a high-grade lat strain that he missed the first, I believe it was 3 or 4 months of the season. I don't think he'd made his debut until, I think, early August. So you're not only relying on all those guys with all those factors to be healthy, then you're relying on Carlos Rodon, who had elbow surgery, had to get a bone spur removed. Obviously, you have Garrett Cole coming back from Tommy John surgery, and you have Clark Schmidt coming back from Tommy John surgery. So you're essentially putting all your eggs in the basket that all of your current guys are going to stay healthy. And then all 3 guys that are coming back from serious injuries. I mean, when you have to get surgery as a pitcher on your arm, obviously for Tommy John on your UCL, and then for Rodon to remove a bone spur, you cannot rely on those guys falling back into their normal patterns, like expecting Garrett Cole to be an ace, expecting Carlos Rodon to repeat his 2025 season, expecting Clark Schmidt to pick up right where he left off. Obviously, he was having probably a career year in 2025, I would say, before going down with Tommy John. It's just too many ifs. It's simply just too many ifs. The Yankees need to shore up this rotation. And it can't just be, a low end guy, like a back end type of guy. It can't be, you can't just sign like a Lucas Giolito, a Chris Bassett. I mean, those guys obviously would eat innings for you. Could you get something more out of them than you expect? Sure. But you're not feeling good about it. You need that established high end type of guy, a guy that could be your number 2, your number 3 going into the playoffs. So obviously that would be your Freddie Peraltas and Mackenzie Gores of the world. Freddie Peralta is the more sure bet. Obviously, he's proven it throughout many seasons. He's a rental. The Yankees have made trades with the Brewers. Obviously, Devin Williams last year, rental player. So they have their own history. Nationals with Mackenzie Gore. I like Mackenzie Gore. I'd be happy if they got him. He is not a sure thing. He is obviously a guy that gets a lot of whiffs, strikes out a lot of guys. Obviously, he has the stuff that you look for: good pitch mix, high velo, all of those things. But for 2 straight seasons, he has fallen apart in the second half. He just does not look like the same pitcher. He just doesn't get the whiffs, doesn't get the Ks. Like just tires out so quickly in games. So when you're acquiring him, you have to kind of delve into that and figure out what is going on, that this guy can look like a front of the line, number 1, number 2 type of arm in the first half of seasons and then just completely fall apart in the second half. So that's a whole nother project in and of itself. Again, could the Yankees do it? Yeah, I kind of gotten to the point with them where Matt Blake and Sam Breen, that kind of unwildering trust in them. So could the Yankees 100% be the team to turn Mackenzie Gore around? I would not be surprised. But the Yankees need to do something, man. They are in a weird spot. It's January. The market obviously hasn't moved too much. They obviously haven't lost anyone they've really been linked to outside of Edward Cabrera. They obviously still have Bellinger on the market, which I know right now that's not looking good, but that's something they could always circle back to. Kyle Tucker and Bo Bichette, they're obviously being linked to. Don't really see either being too realistic. The starters, obviously Freddie Peralta, Mackenzie Gore. I really think they just need to end up with one of those 2 guys. I think that getting a starting pitcher is far more important than getting a big time bat for this lineup. You can easily run out a platoon next year of Jason Dominguez against right-handed pitching, and then someone like, let's say, an Austin Hayes type or an Austin Slater type that, hits left-handed pitching pretty well. Obviously, you're not feeling great about that again. Jason Dominguez's defense is quite poor, but he did put up a 116 WRC plus against right-handed pitching, which is nothing to sneeze at. So, and there's definitely more to unlock there because we really haven't seen the game power from Dominguez that we saw upon his debut. So, very interested to see what the Yankees do next. I think they have a lot of work to do and not a lot of time to do it. I mean, pitchers and catchers report in less than a month. So they definitely have to start getting moving on this offseason. They kind of let Bellinger hold them up long enough. Obviously, they've put it out there in the public that, they're not waiting anymore. So let's see if that is the case or if they really are just kind of trying to move Bellinger and Boris and bring them back to the table with them a little bit more of what they feel is a fair deal to kind of hash out. But let me know your thoughts down below. Like and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate everyone listening. This is the first of many. Let's go Yankees, everyone.